Hello, welcome everyone. Our guest this month is the lovely Cara Wheatley-McGrain. She is the author of Calm Your Gut, which is published through Hay House. In today's interview, in this particular one, which is part two, Cara's going to be talking about the healing journey, how to be self-reflective, and how to rely on yourself as well as the medical profession. There's lots of juicy information in the interview. I'm really hoping that some of you will get the information that will set off a light bulb reaction within you because you maybe been suffering from some kind of issue that's needed healing from within, and maybe Cara's words can help you with that. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this one, and it's part two of the interview with Cara. Hello everyone, welcome to Self-Love Self-Care System Conversations with Experts. Today I have the author of Calm Your Gut, Cara Wheatley-McGrain. Cara has written this book, which is a mindful and compassionate guide to healing IBD and IBS. Cara is the founder of the Mindful Gut UK, a mindset and compassion coach and an educational consultant. She's an expert patient who's lived with IBD and IBS for 20 years. Hello, Cara. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
I'm really happy to be here, and I always love talking about self-care and self-love. So I think it's going to be a wonderful conversation.
So when I coach, it's always about finding a motivator and a core reason for doing what we're doing. Now, I would say health ought to be a massive motivator, yet sometimes we're still guarded, reticent, and we kind of feel shame around those health issues that we have. What I want to know is, what would you say to those people? Because I know there must be many people out there with these kind of conditions that don't want to seek help. What would you say to those people?
I think it's really important to go at their own pace and not to force things.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot about being quite gentle with ourselves. I think we can be under pressure to be. A lot of the core message of my book is about not being forceful and not pushing and not being too aggressive with ourselves, because I think that kind of mindset, oh, I must and I should and I ought,
Yeah, I agree.
I think that kind of mindset isn't sustainable. I think it's short. I mean, I think, some of the work that I do in the book and some of the work I do in my coaching is around changes in diet, and that's a really sensitive area, because what we eat is very, we eat every day. There's cultural, there's a whole host of things around what we eat and how we eat. And I think particularly as women, I think there's a lot of pressure around diet culture and food and healthy food and unhealthy food and clean food and unclean food and treating ourselves. I mean, the words and the language around food are fascinating. And I think in all of that, though, there's often quite a lot of pushing and forcing and social expectations.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know how helpful of that is. I think
I agree, actually.
We need to be quite gentle. I think we need a lot of gentleness. I think if we're looking at a healing relationship, because that's a healing relationship with ourselves, a healing relationship with maybe our doctor, our nurse, our yoga teacher, our nutritionist, our coach, whoever it might be, whoever's on our team. We first and foremost need to try and start to create a healing relationship, a healing mindset within ourselves. And then that team, that external team, we can work with them. They can support us. They can be part of that. And I think if people were feeling a bit of shame or a bit of fear or anxiety around that, I think it's really trying to find people that you trust, that you feel safe to speak to, and that you feel would respond to you in a way that isn't going to be judgmental, that's going to give you that psychological safety to start the journey. And I think, go with your gut, like go with your gut on that. There's a real power and wisdom in our gut. Like, go with your gut instincts. Like, if you see someone talking or you hear something or you read something and you think, I resonate, I connect, there's a part of me that really is curious and interested in what they're talking about, that's a sign that could be somebody that's really wonderful for you to start your journey with.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love what you said. Because I'd say go with your heart, obviously. But, I'd always say, and I'm very much like you about no pushing, no, we can look back a little bit, but we don't stare. I'm very much about very gentle, gentle, gentle way of moving forward, because I think that what you said, it's so true. There's so many haves. I have to do this, and I need to get my diet right, or starting to push ourselves rather than, I like to frame it as in, what would I love to do in this change? What would I love? Obviously, it would be love with me. Yeah. I realize I said love. But yeah, it'd be what would I love to do? So I think, yeah, I do love that, because I think it's about, but we do have a narrative. It's quite tricky, I suppose. And I do get this. I want to say this just to sort of acknowledge those who feel it. We do have a narrative in the world that can be quite strict almost. I don't know if that's a good word, but what I mean is quite imposing. The expectations are there. So it's to kind of, I always say, come back to self. It's always come back to self, always come back to love. So you would say, like, come back to your gut, right? To come back to those spaces and listen to them. So yeah, it's pretty similar messages actually. Like I said, when I read the book, I felt that there was a lot that I teach and talk about that's in there, and I do as well. So yeah, that's a beautiful answer. I love that. Okay, so now I'm back into the self-care aspect. So you mentioned in the book lots of the things that can really help, and this is kind of more on the self-care element. I really want to look into that. So you talk about sleep, exercise, understanding your individualized journey, and through your own healing, understanding your own journey through your own healing. So I say a lot with healing, everyone is unique, and you have said this yourself in the book, and precious, and what works for one may not work for another. Can you speak a little bit about that, about what you mentioned in there for me?
Yeah, that's such a lovely question. Thanks, Hem, for kind of drawing that out, because I think we are each unique. We get ill for different reasons. We all have our own narrative, and I think quite a lot of the first part of the book is very much around really understanding our own, how have we arrived here? How, what has led us to this point we are at in our journey, both the physical part, maybe the emotional piece, maybe there's a kind of a psychological element to it as well. It could also be a deeper spiritual part to it. So how have we arrived at this moment where we are with our health, and with our gut health, or our overall physical health? And I think that part is an important piece of the journey, of like owning how we've arrived there, and like gently looking back. And then at that point, there are so many ways that we can look at our self-care. There are so many different dimensions to that, and I think different people respond to different things. Sleep is a huge part. I mean, I think we're a culture where we are, a society where we are losing access to sleep. But we have overstimulation late at night. We have electronic devices emitting the light that kind of wakes us up, and that balance of really restorative healing sleep and restful sleep is a big part of our well-being. And then food, I think there's a really important part of our wider socialization of what have become normal foods, and I'm putting normal foods in inverted commas quite purposely, because there's actually a lot of foods that are in our everyday environment which really are not true food, in the sense of that they are nutritious. They're feeding our body, our brain, and our well-being. And I think I feel quite passionate about that. I actually feel quite deeply that understanding that part of your healing jigsaw is really important. And then there's the kind of emotional journey, the inner journey. I feel from the work that I've done, the deep work I've done in my own healing, that we often hold trauma in our gut and in our body. And that might be both our own personal trauma, but even maybe there could even be interpersonal, generational trauma, intergenerational trauma. So I think there's some really, when we go really deep into it, there's some really significant aspects. And I think it's looking at the whole piece. It's looking at the big picture, and having that confidence to pan out and look at that wider view. I don't know, have I answered your question? I feel like I've maybe got a bit broad there.
Yeah, you did, because it was like what would work for one person may not work for another. Because
Yeah.
I'm a real advocate of this one. Even when I do my coaching, I'm very much, it's very bespoke because everyone's different. And people will ask me the question, well, what do you do when you coach? It's like, well, everyone's actually different in their
Mm.
journey. Everyone's got different aspects, everyone's got different emotions that come and feelings and triggers and then healing issues and then illness. It's always different. And even if we have the same illness, like you were saying in the book very clearly, your journey may be completely different to someone else's who has exactly the same condition as you, because we all present it differently. We all do. So yeah, no, I think you did. It is really funny though, because you did jump to my next question. You actually did. That's really funny. I was looking at it going, she's just gone to my next question. So now you're using your spidey sense as well. Okay, so the next question is, intuition tells us what's behind the pain. So we tend to hold traumas in different parts of our body. So with IBD, IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, we are centralized on the gut, as you said, right? So I tend to say how we're showing up in the world for ourselves and our bodies comes through us. So, but you kind of already mentioned it, but I wanted to sort of talk to this idea that the body is a map. It's almost like a compass. It's telling us every day what needs to happen. So I kind of wanted to ask you sort of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think our body is communicating to us. And I think if we look at, there's a part of the book where I talk about the concept of Gaia, this beautiful concept that the world is a system, a self-sustaining system, and it wants balance, and its actions are to support that self-sustaining system. And our bodies are too, and our bodies are wanting balance. They're wanting to be well. So our bodies are always looking for, and even inflammation, inflammation, like short-term local inflammation is healing. The body, if we have a wound, the body creates inflammation to fight the infection, to kind of, to take additional red and white blood cells there to fight the infection. Short-term inflammation is to heal. But when it's chronic low level, like we were talking about earlier on, when maybe diet or lifestyle is causing chronic low level inflammation, that's actually the root of so many different illnesses in the Western world. And clearly that is the root of those of us living with inflammatory bowel disease. So what we're trying to do is like understand the way our body's communicating to us and understanding how we're responding. And there's a few things that come to mind. Sometimes when I work with people, and I work primarily with women, but not only with women, what I often hear is a frustration. They're really frustrated. They're kind of like, why can't I just be normal? Why me? And a little bit of that. And I hear them. I really hear them. And why can't I just eat what I want with my friends? Why can't I just go out and have a drink? And actually, I've sat with that myself because I know that feeling. I really know that feeling. And I've sat with it a lot, and I thought, for me at the moment, with the way that we are eating in the West, I really do think that some of us are more sensitive. I kind of imagine like the big, we have a bell curve, and we have like the distribution on the bell curve, and like we have the outliers on either side who are kind of like the extreme responses, and then we have a lot of people in the middle, and a lot of people might be, yeah, I can eat what I want, I can drink what I want, I'm absolutely fine, I'm eating a Western diet, no worries. And then someone like me and someone who has a gut condition, actually we can have a very, very quick response to maybe eating food that just isn't right for us. We have an inflammatory response very quickly. We don't feel very well. We don't feel well quickly. And I've really sat with that, and I thought, well, this diet isn't good for anybody. And for some of us, we're actually showing that. We're showing it in our body, our responses, because we're sensitive. We're sensitive to this food, and our bodies are responding very rapidly and going, this isn't good. We're not able to digest this. It's not nourishing us. It's not supporting our well-being. So I was really kind of working with that, because I think that's a really important part of understanding. Actually, sometimes our body's guiding us and saying, actually, yeah, okay, you might want to do that because this food is designed to be highly addictive, very pleasurable to eat, but it's actually not nourishing, really nourishing. And when I talk about our physical well-being, I'm also saying our mental and emotional well-being, because we know that the food that we eat and our gut bacteria need the right foods to be healthy and well, to create serotonin, dopamine, GABA,
Oh,
the feel good hormones, the feel
that's
good
cool.
chemicals that we need in our body. So actually, it isn't just about, oh, I have inflammation or I have a bit of bloating or I feel uncomfortable. What we now know is that that part is also part of a wide interconnected part of our body
Yeah.
and our well-being and our emotional health and our levels of anxiety or depression or our levels of feeling well and feeling balanced. So I think it's that wider, it's that panning out and seeing the bigger picture, not just seeing a symptom, but seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's because I think it's because we're all a mini Gaia. So we're all Gaia within. I say this a lot and people look at me, but yeah, it's true. To me, we're all that system. So we're all connected to everything. And if you're eating foods that are disconnected from the system, then you're then also disconnecting from the system. And I really do believe that. I mean, I've had my own issues with food, in the fact that I've had to change my diet quite a lot over the years. As I've got older, I've started to notice that it's food that's affecting me. I'm not so great with gluten and things like that. But it's like, it's about being aware, and it's about having that understanding of your own kind of your own Gaia system, really. I know boys won't like being me calling it the Gaia system. It's not the Gaia system. But yeah, it's, okay, the world system. I'll have world
Yeah.
system. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's so true. And I think I still think, I absolutely I would recommend your book just in general, just for like literally just for being able to find your voice. You can find your voice in here. I do believe in Calm Your Gut. You can hear your heart. You could probably hear your womb space. You can understand what's going on within, because a lot of what Cara talks about, I go on about it with self-love, just instead, with self-love. But there is so much there. A couple of things I want to come back to now is some of the practices. So in the book, there are some great practices. And one of the ones I've used myself is the Metta Bhavana practice, which I use with self-love. And I love how you kind of make it very specific to these illnesses, right? So there's that in there. And can you speak to one of your favorite ones that you've got in here, please?
Yeah, I think I love the belly metabhavana practice too. I think it's like, and it's such a beautiful heart-led practice, and it's so simple. And I've encouraged people to do it, even if they're in a moment where they're in pain or they're flaring, just to bring that sense of love and compassion. Just so our words are powerful, and going back to that, the way that we relate to our body as a system, as a whole. We don't push any part of it away and go, you're not working properly, and attack it. What we do is we integrate, we assimilate, we look at it in a whole. So I love that practice. I also love the base belly breathing practice. It's such a simple practice, and I know there's some really exciting things happening in the world of breath at the moment, the science around the breath. There's some real leading practitioners globally kind of showing us how important our breathing is to how we feel. I mean, like what I love is just to say, like, literally 3 breaths can change how you feel. They can relax the body, they can help lower your blood pressure, they can create a sense of calm. Like, it's like so powerful. And we have the breath with us all the time. We don't have to wait, we don't have to find something or find someone else. We have the breath. So that's probably my favorite practice, because it's like the foundation of many of the other practices. It's like that grounding practice, coming home to ourselves, coming home to the breath. And I also wanted to speak to, as a heart-centered lady, I want to speak to, I agree, I think the heart has its huge role, like tuning into our heart, tuning into our gut, tuning into our head. And I think it's, for me, a lot of it is aligning those, it's bringing those things into alignment, understanding that our gut has this powerful wisdom and insight, that our heart will lead us with compassion, and that our rational mind and our intelligence has a role as well. And it's like aligning those and not seeing them as kind of separate, but as seeing, if we can align those, I think then our lives are enriched, aren't they? That we live in a much more balanced way.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love that. And it's exactly what I'd say as well. Alignment. I always say it's alignment.
I know I'm going to really like call out the elephant in the room. It can be tricky. We do live in a world that is so, it can be really on top of us. So I do get that, but it's about finding that space and finding those moments where you can give to yourself. You did mention breathwork. I am a breathwork teacher, and it is so funny. I say to people, doing a breathwork class, and I go, but breathing? I know how to breathe. That's like, actually, most of us aren't breathing properly. And it's like, people find that really shocking. I had a lot of ladies come to a breathwork class of mine and say, oh, you're right, I don't breathe properly at all. It's like, most people don't breathe enough into their bellies. People stop here. That's not enough breathing. But yeah, it is really important. And I think that it's so important that we kind of start to look. I'm hoping as we go through life and as the years tick by, we start to become more open to this kind of thing, become more aware. It's like, as you were saying, Cara, about the whole social media thing, it's going to hopefully bring us closer to these things. People be finding these tools, finding these techniques to help them, within. I mean, your book's obviously brilliant. I think it's a fantastic starting point. And I think for anyone, and I'm not being biased, it is amazing. I love it. I love your book. So, okay, my next question is, I don't know if it's a question. Oh yeah, this one's just a comment. I love your gut box that you talk about in the book. Can you tell us about it? And obviously I know about it because I've read it. But yeah, could you tell us about it? I love it because I have a box very similar. So I was like really excited when I saw it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just to have things that support you at the moment when you're not feeling well, and to have inspiration and connection. And I share like lots of like simple ways that you can love your gut and inspire the calm and care towards your gut. So a couple of things, like if you're in flare, you can actually have like your favorite quotes, some inspiration, things that you can remind yourself, maybe like a lovely massage oil or something. You can actually have those physical things. But also I love to kind of give like tips to people about, if they're not well, how they can just really tune into their gut, into their belly, and really kind of learn those strategies of self-love and self-care. So I share all sorts, from breath practice to movement to journaling to visualization, to so many different, and I think yeah, a lot of people say they love the different modalities. Like a lot of people are like, oh wow, I wouldn't have connected dance with the gut. And I'm like, yeah, like everything connects. And it's like, I think I put so many different modalities in because I know some will resonate with some people, and some people are like, yes, that's it, I need that specific yoga move, or I need that breath practice, or actually journaling can be really powerful. So sharing lots of different things.
I love that. I'm a big advocate of journaling, but whenever I mention it, I get comments like, journaling again? Because people are like, some people just don't like writing, do they? I mean, I love it. I've got reams of writing everywhere. A lot of people, so I said, okay, you can talk into your phone. And so say, like, have a dialogue with your body, have a dialogue with yourself. I mean, it's interesting because reading your book and you talking about the dialogue with your gut, I did exactly the same thing. I had a dialogue with my heart. I had a dialogue with my womb. This is how I heal, very, very similarly to yourself. I use these same practices, which is why I really advocate for what you've written in here, because I can understand that. Okay, now we're moving on to the fun part. Well, I call it the fun part, because this is just questions about Cara.
Oh, right. Okay, go for it.
So this wouldn't be a talk about gut health if I didn't ask you what your favorite food is and what your favorite drink is.
Oh, I love those questions. My favorite drink I would choose would actually be turmeric latte. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh.
Yeah, so I choose a turmeric latte, which I make here at home. But it's probably seasonal, so I probably more likely have it in the winter. But it's such a beautiful, soothing. It's anti-inflammatory. So yeah, it's just a bit of turmeric. Black pepper is important, and then either honey or maple syrup, depending on if you're vegan or vegetarian. And then obviously your plant milk of choice. Frothing it up, and it's so warming and delicious. And then food. And I love Indian food. I love Indian cuisine. I've grown up with it. So I mean, there really is such amazing Indian cuisine where I live. So I do love a dal. Like if I had to choose, I'd probably go for, I think, a dal, because you can make so many different kind of varieties. And my mouth's watering as I'm speaking. So there you go. So yeah, a lovely lentil dal would be probably right up there with a bit of spinach. I mean, I know it's really super healthy, but actually delicious,
And
tasty,
it's
full
super
of lovely
tasty. So many different ways of making it, so you can get so much from it. And so no, I think it's delicious. So yes, I agree.
I crush sweet potato into my dal and I stir in spinach and I sprinkle all sorts of stuff on top. So I think it's that base, isn't it? The lentil base, but then
Yeah.
you can do so much with it. You can make it yeah, delicious.
Oh, tasty. Well, I love that. So okay, and this is my final question. What is your favorite thing to do ever? Your favorite thing to do?
Oh wow. Absolutely to spend time in nature and I love growing things. So I think there's something so profound, and maybe because you're asking me in April, it's particularly resonant. Where I am in my office, I've actually got seedlings all around me.
Oh,
So
lovely.
putting something like a seed into some soil and that magic when you see it start to grow, and then maybe you have a broccoli or a Swiss chard or whatever you're growing, and you go, literally from putting something into the soil, that the magic, I mean, actually it's everyday magic, so we almost don't notice it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So, and I have a lovely apple tree in my garden, and I look at it now, it's just going into blossom. And then when the apples, those beautiful big red apples, it's like, how did you do that? How did you take the sun from the sky, draw some from
Oh,
the earth, and make these beautiful things that are life-giving?
I
So
know.
I love being outside, and I love in particular growing, spending time in nature growing.
Oh, I love that too. Okay, Cara, thank you so much. It's been I absolutely loved having you here. I've loved having you here. I've loved this conversation. Cara, if people want to find you, what are your handles? If you could just say them for me, that'd be really lovely. I will put them down in the notes in YouTube. It'd be lovely if you could tell us where we could find you.
Yeah, so I've actually got carawheatley-mcgrain.com. They can find me there. My company is called the Mindful Gut UK, so they can find me there too. And I'm on Instagram, Mindful Gut UK. I've got a Facebook group, the Mindful Gut UK. And I don't tend to use Twitter so much, but they can find me there as well. And yes, I'm always, obviously, it gives me so much joy, Hem, to talk about self-care, self-compassion, and that whole piece around self-love and how we can take care of ourselves. So it's a real joy to talk to you today as well.
Oh, thank you for coming. I've really enjoyed having you here. Everyone, you know where you can find me. You can find me at the Self-Love Self-Care Angel System on Facebook, the Self-Love Self-Care Coaching System on Facebook, and my website, which is www.selfloveselfcaresystem.com. Thank you all for watching. It's been wonderful to have you. I will see you all soon. Namaste, take care, and goodbye from me. And
Goodbye from me.
mwah, all my love. Bye.
Thank you for watching the interview. I hope that you gained something from Cara's beautiful wisdom and her words. I'd just like to say that neither Cara or I are actual medical professionals, so anything we've said in the interview just needs to be taken with that on board and that understanding. I'm hoping that you're all having an amazing time. I just want to let you know there's lots of amazing interviews coming up. We've got interviews with a drama instructor, we've got some more interviews with a psychic, and interviews with somebody who used to be a doctor that has moved, a qualified medical doctor who has gone into holistic care instead, and she's created her own business through that. So watch out, Conversations with Experts has got lots more interesting information to share with you. Also, I just wanted to say, if any of you are experts in any field, you don't have to be an expert per se, but you've got a real interest in something and you can talk beautifully, fluently about it, and you would love to appear on Conversations with Experts, feel free to hit me up with an email. All you need to do is send me an email at the selfloveselfcaresystem@gmail.com and put in their Conversations with Experts inquiry and tell me what you may like to interview for and what we could talk about, and maybe I could have you on the show, because it will be absolutely lovely to get more people to share their wisdom, because that's what the whole idea of these talks is to share our wisdom. So the next things that are coming up, there'll be another Conversations with Experts, but we'll have our monthly guest. There's also going to be Lionsgate report, which is coming up, and lots of other things. Everybody, take care of yourselves as ever. It's always a pleasure to have you here. If you've got this far, I would love for you to subscribe. Please do. Please subscribe. Please join in. I'm going to keep going with this beautiful channel because I'm actually really enjoying making these videos for you. So yes, and yeah, and if you want to know when they're coming up, I think if you hit the notification bell, it's a little bell symbol. You hit that, you'll get to know exactly when I post things. Anyway, darlings, take care of yourself. I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Namaste, everyone, and I will speak to you soon. Bye. Bye.